Good evening, my fellow friends and fans. It's I, Kane Fan 701. I am back here, doing basically what will be not a long stream, but it will be just kind of a bit of a review type of, you know, topic type of thing about how 2021 has been, because we're halfway already through the year, and so far, if you compare to last year, things have been kind of very rocky, but a lot more better because we're much more prepared with the vaccination. We're saving more lives as ever, despite the pandemic really took a nasty toll on a lot of things. Losing so many great people. Last year we were totally unprepared for what we were going to get, but we kept our word. The vaccinations came out during the autumn and into the winter of last year, and as you can tell right now, 2021 has made a massive, massive difference in comparison, if I may. And I'm telling you, it's just one of the amazing things that I've ever seen. But the thing is, regardless, you know, this year has got so much to get through. We'll have to wonder what happens within the next 6 months before the dawning of 2022. And but I've got high hopes. I've got my fingers crossed, and I've got a bit of pride in me, and I'm very, very well. I wouldn't say confident, but I have great hopes that we'll all push through this, and hopefully, bit by bit, each of our nations will come together, and eventually, that we will be able to say that we were able to beat the virus and save our future generation and the present, and make sure those who perished in the pandemic will never be forgotten, because without them, I don't think none of us would be around. I don't think. And the NHS has to be greatly commended, you know and for everybody else around the world who've got their own hospitalizations that are helping us and everything else going on at this moment, despite other shenanigans and other things that shouldn't be happening during this current, outbreak, which has really, really brought out so much bad in all of us, not just for humanity, but for on social media, which I think plays a critical role, and of course, everything that went down, not just during the pandemic, but with other things I don't want to really get into because it could cause some controversial and some real bad hate and drama that we don't want to really talk about. So, putting that aside, I think, 2021 so far as a whole, anyway, yeah. Sorry for my yawning now, lads. I just haven't been sleeping as well as lately. The intense heat's really been getting at me as well. But I will have to say 2021 as a whole for me so far has been a lot more better, a bit more tolerable, and a little bit more, well, I could say what it was like just before the pandemic hit us in 2020. March, that is, when it all started. So I kind of think we've got some of our normality back, but I do feel that we still got a long road ahead of us to get through. Because it took a long time to end World Wars One and Two, and other battles that we've had. This pandemic could perhaps go on for quite a long while. But I'm gonna have to admit, you know, as a theory, as a hypothesized theory, I think we could be living in a modernized style of the 1918 disease flu, the Spanish flu that happened in that time period. And look how long that lasted. That lasted for over 3 years, from what I was told. And we could be perhaps facing a very, very similar crisis to that. But, with this new vaccinating and more lives being saved, despite the fact we got the Indian COVID, which is literally just, coating our nation right now in the UK so badly. But I got a feeling that we might be able to beat it, because we've beaten the Chinese virus, that's where it originated from. And we beat the African version. And now we've got this one. So we've got like Oh God, blimey. So now we've got a third case variation of a different virus of COVID now, which is the Indian COVID. And now, look at the reaction we're getting. We're in full swing. I wouldn't say we're fully loaded, but we're loaded with vaccinations all over the place, and we're ready to take this one on. But I do think 2021 itself has been a very turning point for all of us, and I do think the turning around is somewhere around at this point, and we're getting somewhere. We're trying to slowly carve our way through and get back on track, so to speak, and eventually, go into the future. The world has changed, don't get me wrong, but through my own eyes, I can barely see any changing. I have seen the change in how bad personalities and humanity and human beings have been, especially on the internet and everything else, but I can't quite see too much around me in the world as it has done, because right now we're living a very limited style after what we are, and compared to what last year was a year of hell, and it's just not the type of thing I don't think any of us were prepared for. Although I have to say, 2021 for me so far was How you going? There we go. For me, 2021 was a good start. I had a lot of high hopes for the future. I think you can look back in one of my old streams I did when I did my first one in January. I had such high hopes and anticipation great great positive things for the future, for what we were going to go for, and what big turnaround it was going to be. And I do think so far we've lived up to that, and despite it was a rocky 3 months so far for myself and all the others, for a lot of other people that I know so close and dear to, who were also suffering from what had happened, from their own experiences from this outbreak, which, it is tragic, but I do think that, a lot of things I was saying in terms of we will have a big turnaround, we'll have more vaccinating, we'll have a lot more awareness of what's going on, and so far so good, that's been the case. But another thing I'd like to know is that, despite all the other things that were revolving around other things that I don't want to talk about, which, it might stir some heat in the chat, but that's something else, for something I might talk about another time, who knows. But it does look like things are easing up a little bit better. People are getting the message across a bit more, and I think, despite all the complainings and all the the government political things about people who are saying, that in the UK our government failed, that they say that they stole our future, and or doing the wrong things and laying, I think their minds weren't thinking straight. But at the same time, I don't think that's true at all. We're doing everything that we can, and we're doing everything within our power to beat this thing. And just an example that we haven't failed. I mean, in life, that you can't be successful if you fail, and there can't be any failing if you can be successful. As Paul Heyman in WWE once said, you cannot achieve success unless you fail on the way. If you're not afraid to fail, you have a good chance of succeeding in life. That's something I've learned. Sometimes half the fun is failing and learning from your mistakes, and you wake up one day and be a little bit more better. And I think 2021 has been that year that we've made a big turnaround, and I do think that we will push with all the power that we have to put the brakes on more loss of life, because how are we human beings going to cope afterwards when this is over and done with, if that day ever comes? Which just kind of scare me a bit, but with a heavy heart and looking up with positiveness, we will win it, and so far I think 2021 has done tremendously well so far. And if we can keep this up, Who knows what might happen within the next 6 months and when 2022 arrives? I mean, will we see some improvements on humanity? Will we see improvements made in our nations? Will we see some of our normality that we had before it was all lost at some point? Will we be able to salvage? Will we be able to resurrect what we had lost? I mean, we can't go back, we can only go forward, but try and find improvements to make things a lot more better for us, for the sake of humanity, and for the sake of us all. It's kind of funny actually. I'm thinking about that. It's like in that Dumbo remake when V.A. Vanderveer says to Max Magenti, he's like, I'm thinking this way as myself. It's like, we should join ourselves together, become a new family in a way, form a new home on this planet for all of us. We should all go together into the future and try and see what lies ahead of us, because it could be very adventurous. You never know what could come around the corner. And I'm kind of thinking that way. I'm trying to, be very, very positive, try and get that, what's that feeling that they have? What's it now? What's the word I'm looking for? I think it'll come back at some point. Let me just think. If anybody else wants to come in, hang on, okay? Ow! Damn it, you. If anybody else wants to join, I'll just drop the link in quick. It won't be it's not going to be too much of a big deal here, but if anybody wants to come in and keep this up, because it seems like I'm talking myself to sleep here, so I need someone to keep me active, because I literally just can't seem to stay awake. Okay, now what else? Okay. Christopher Slice popped in. Funny thing he was going to. Okay, I'm just going to see what he says.
Hello.
Hey there, Chris. Welcome for a second stream debut. We won't be on for too long. It's only like a 2021 year so far. We're already half completed, so yeah, it's not going to be too much of a long one, because I'm trying to make this a small stream. But now that you're here, I might let you take up the bat and see what goes on. And bit of a Q&A for here, saying I've done my bit about 2021 so far in terms of the whole turnaround with the pandemic, and the other things I don't want to wish not to talk about, because it could stir up some big heat in the chat, which I don't want to talk about yet until whenever it may be. But Carissa, I would like to get your opinions so far in the last, in these last 6 months of compared to last year, and how this year has been playing its own roles since. Any signs of improvements, any turnarounds, and what hopes do we have for the future once this year ends, and by the time we leapfrog into 2022, and what could the possibility for humanity, if not for our nation, as well as our American counterparts and Australian counterparts and everywhere around the globe, where do you think we're going to be heading after this point?
Well, in all honesty, it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment, I would say, because there are still a lot of folk who haven't been vaccinated, either because they haven't received notification, or because they don't feel that they want the vaccine, or are unable to take it due to medical reasons or whatever. But I do think we are getting there, and we are improving, but there's still a long way to go with that, so it depends really.
Well, as I said earlier on, we'd already beaten the original COVID, which was from China, and we beat the African one. So we've actually beaten we've beaten two variations of it, and now we've got the Indian one, which is like a third case. So what's next? I don't know what's next about it, but I got a funny feeling this one may not last very long. I don't think, despite we have a bunch of Indian people hanging around in the UK and up in Scotland and in Wales and
Mm,
down the south, so it could have a problem because I haven't seen the BBC News. There's been a lot of cases rising, but I do think with the amount of casing going up, I think the vaccinations will come out in full force, and the quicker we act, the better chance this one will die out a lot quicker, and we could resume our slow walk out of this third lockdown that we've had in the UK, and hopefully, I'm not saying it will be the last one, but I'm hoping that this will be the last major one. If we have like a temporary brief lockdown, that could be kind of okay, but at least in a way it won't be like a complete full, a full lockdown like we had last time. If we have like a brief one in terms of like on some parts while we still have some freedom, that I think we can cope extremely well with.
I think that would be a better option because
I,
a full lockdown, that's just too much. People aren't coping with full lockdowns. But at the
I
end
don't
of the
blame
day,
I
at the
don't
end of
blame
the
the I don't blame the lockdowns, Christopher, because I've coped with them extremely well. They've actually had more of a good effect on me because I'm only doing, you know, what they've said. I can only go out for exercise months, and I've been doing that to keep healthy. I've been doing that twice and 3 times a day, so I'm all good. So I wasn't really too much of a problem. I took this in the first time around. It was a bit tough, but I've learned to adapt very quickly. Not to
yeah,
mention, I was more worried about the vaccine, about the whole thing when we got into the winter, and despite my concerns, there wasn't that much of a bad, wasn't too bad, but that was where I am very limited in my ultimate weakness because of my premature birth, because I was born in the winter, so I was a bit concerned I might fall victim to that way, but luckily that wasn't the case. Hopefully, we'll see what happens in terms of like other things, but I do believe, sometimes a full lockdown can work for some people. I mean, I can cope with it, to be honest, unless I have other issues, but like I said earlier, what I said will be the best thing that we could have at the moment because it's summer. We need to be out a bit more. We can still go to places that, as long as. Actually, I think I forgot to mention this earlier. I think for those who have been vaccinated, for those who had the first and second jabs, they don't need to worry because if the vaccination's in the system, the COVID will have a less effect on them and they'll be fine within days or so, depending on the level they have, if they have a test letting done. Like me, I'll be having my second one next month, um, which I'm going to be too hard bothered to complain about, but it's not having it done that counts. It's the aftermath I don't want to repeat again because I had the normal reaction, not the one that was considered lethal.
yeah. For me, when I had my first vaccine, it was just,
Okay,
well, for
so
me,
yes.
it was
Oh,
a
sorry.
sore arm and slight loss of appetite, and
That
generally
that
wasn't too well for one day, but that was it.
that wasn't the case with me. With me, it took a full week for me to get settled in. I mean, for the first 24 hours was good, which was natural. This was like, usually guys got reactions in 15 to about 60 minutes after they had it. But that didn't happen in my case. I had the actual reaction that would come 24 hours after, and it just came out of nowhere. I was just chattering. I was frozen cold for half an hour. My teeth were chattering like mad. And it came out of nowhere. It was just when I was about to go to bed. And then I ended up, having severe pain. Like it was like someone was twisting my legs and cutting them off. And
Ow.
my knee, it was right above my kneecaps, and both my knees were hurt, and it felt like someone had chopped my legs off. To be honest, it was that bad. But the thing was, my arms were completely unaffected, so I could move them around easily. I couldn't move as much when I was lying down. Then eventually, turning around was different and painful. But then it got worse. I felt like I was gonna die. I felt like I'd taken the wrong one, but it moved and spread around, and eventually my legs were okay. I didn't overheat, whatnot, thank goodness, which was a bit worrying. But it moved its way up around, and I felt like I was having a muscle spasm in my rib cage. And then I walked up, got up, and eventually it traveled up my spine very quickly, thankfully. And then eventually, the worst ordeal of it is that it went all the way up to my head and around my brain and my cranium and the top of my crown. that's where the worst bit. That's where the ultimate pain hit me in, and eventually for about roughly 5 to 4 days, I was head top heavy. Couldn't move my head up and down as much. I had to
Oh,
cool my head down numerous times to block out the pain. But I didn't have any migraine, that's for sure. It was just like a normal headache, but it was like literally painful. And I was able to walk around a bit better. But eventually, by the seventh day, the pain had subsided a bit. It was just in the top of my crown, which was a bit irritatable. But by the next day, I was back to full health. So that's how long it took for my vaccination to settle in. But I didn't have any bad reactions by throwing up or anything
no.
else. That was, I didn't have. I could still eat and go out more and do other things, but that was what it was like. So I didn't have any other issues. I had just the normal reaction, thank goodness, and they weren't lying. At least I didn't have 15 minutes or 60 minutes after a bad reaction, because that's what a lot of them were getting in my area from what I was told. But because I was young, I didn't have to wait like with the elderly blokes who were sitting in a tent to check up, because that was the whole thing. Oh, it looks like an old buddy of mine from TV Nights is sitting at the bottom. West Rail 642 fan. I haven't heard from him for a long time. Let's put him in. Hey there, old buddy. Long time no see.
Hello. Hang on. Let me adjust my
Nice
mic
to hear from
settings.
you. Oh, it's nice to hear your voice as well. A lot better on the mic as well.
Yeah. I haven't been on the stream for ages because I've just been missing them. Because when you've been streaming, I've been asleep.
Well, you finally managed to get up quickly enough. You missed some of the best ones, but it's nice to hear from you again, mate. I have missed you a little bit. I've seen your recent uploads on DA, which were really cool.
What, did you see the SS Angelic?
Yeah, I saw the SS Angelic one. That was really cool. I like the fact, I've been meaning to tell you this, man. I like the fact how you did a nice poster of my reboot from the Titanic fanfic I've been doing since last year. Yeah, the full reboot, which I will admit was a lot of fun, and I have completed it. You can actually reread the whole thing again if you wanted to, because there's some more new scenes involved. It's a bit more deeper, much more, I don't know, classic variation, and a bit more action in there. And of course, it gets a little bloody near the end, because again, it's a bit more of an intensified variation compared to the old one. And of course, I will be working on some of the other stories. I've already just started doing the Lusitania story, which you may have not noticed.
Yeah. I haven't noticed, because I usually go and do that. Check my messages again, so I don't really check.
Yeah, you can actually you can check that out if you wanted to, and you can actually check it out. I've only done a few. Actually, I rushed the last one, but I'm going to try and redo it again a bit better, because I'm adapting the news storyline for my character, just to make it better and easier. There's been no drama too much about the whole relaunching that I've had, thank goodness. And I did actually mention about this once in my Titanic anniversary of a launching date, back on May 31st. And it was a really good one. I heard a few bits, and there was no trouble. And one even said I was one of the best storytellers ever, which kind of lifted my confidence a bit better compared to all the. It is, but
this Monday, it's 110 years since Olympic maiden voyage is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, Olympic. Well, yeah.
I shared my birthday with her maiden voyage.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
Who's seen the MS Harmony that I've made?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've seen that one.
She and her sisters, they're meant to be bigger than Symphony. Like the width of Symphony with more chain on each side, and the length of Symphony with Titanic all the way onto the back. They're basically the world's biggest ships.
Okay, guys, I've those of you who are taking intriguing notes, here's the shortcut for you to get to my here, guys. Here you guys go. See it? It's in the chat box. Go in there, and then you will get to see it.
Have you seen the TV movie they did of the Lusitania?
I haven't seen any new movies. I've only seen the new one. The only one
they did with
the only movie I saw of Lusitania was the one back in 2007. It's been called 18 Minutes of Terror, or it's called
that's the one. That's the one I'm talking
Sinking
about.
the Atlantic, or it's sometimes referred to as Lusitania / Murder in the Atlantic. Yeah, that's the only one I've ever seen. I remember seeing it. Yeah.
It's got that Carlisle dude, isn't it? Rob Carlisle in it, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
That's his name. I couldn't quite remember the actor's name for a second.
Yeah, the guy who plays the Doctor Bloke or Professor Bloke. Yeah, he's very, very recognisable.
Or as I know him as, the dude from The Mummy.
I thought he was the guy who played the. I thought he looked like the guy who played the what's his name in Spartacus. Yeah, but anyways, that's where my fanfic is currently based on. If you haven't noticed, so you might want to check it out. I'm changing some timelines a little bit, alter a little bit of history a little bit, so it won't be quite as the same as the film itself. And then, spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be jumping up back onto the story of HMS Britannic, kind of combining the real disaster and the fiction 2000 story of it.
I'm not really a fan of the 2000 movie.
Well, it was funny because that was the film that introduced me to Titanic's twin sister, to be honest. And at the time, I didn't really know it was a real thing. I just thought it was just a spin-off of the film, but it turned out it was true. Although, like I said, I mean, I have my own ways of altering history, and I'll be combining the two, and I'll be doing some twists to the original 2000 variation. But it will only follow the real thing in terms of, like, syncing actual accounts. And yeah, it will be intriguing because eventually it follows the following dark days of my OC character before he became that mass killing machine that he would become many years later on. If any of you guys might be familiar with my OC. Yeah.
Didn't you have I was going to say, didn't you have my alternate universe where Britannic survives into the 50s?
I don't think I have. I don't think our characters have ever come yet. I'm not sure if I've got you in yet. But
I don't think I have a character now down yet, other than the Sea Spray, that ROV thingy.
Oh yes, yeah, in the old Race to Titanic. Yeah, I will be redoing that one as well because I'm altering the timeline again because I'm trying to because I kind of jumped ahead too far with the characters I was using. But don't worry, I will eventually have that in, and your characters, Sea Spray, and the other characters that were involved, that will come back in the new reboot. And of course, I actually am considering that it could be where you could join, you could be part of, I don't know, maybe because I did introduce Dr. Robert Ballard in there with, because maybe you could be part of his team, or you could be part of NUMA, National Underwater Marine Agency with Dirk Pitt, who found Titanic originally, the movie. And who knows, we could be a extra pair of hands in the expedition. Who knows? But I can safely say that could be where your character from the so-called early modern days could actually show up, maybe, Wes, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I've been trying to redesign Sea Spray though lately, but I just can't quite figure out the design for it because Snoop Dogg in the Titanic film, or in James Cameron's film.
Yeah.
You know how it sort of splits open to get its arms out?
Yeah.
I'm trying to go for a design like for Sea Spray, I just couldn't get.
I thought when I first saw Snoop Dogg, I thought it was called Snoop Dogg or whatever. I thought it was called Slip Dog at the time.
Apparently, it was a fully functional. It was fully functional, wasn't it? It wasn't the prop. It actually went down to the actual wreck as well, didn't it?
They did, yeah. They actually did. They weren't filming just on a moment. As James Cameron said in the movie, he said, "If when you look at the wreck of Titanic, it is actually the wreck of Titanic." At the time, I remember.
Only if there's only one stopping shot. If there's two subs, then it's the model, isn't it?
Yeah, but when they actually did the other bits and bobs flying with the submersibles and everything else, they were over the actual thing.
Although it wasn't the interior shots were just a set, wasn't it? It was like some set they sunk into the water, didn't they, for the interior stuff.
It did. But I remember as a kid, I was so convinced they were actually. I thought I was a kid growing up. I was so convinced they were actually ruining the actual wreck of Titanic because you got to remember back then in the 90s, those effects, anything was very realistic at first glance, especially if you're a kid growing up. You would think that's the real thing. And today, even to this very day, the effects and everything else, they have not changed my views when I first watched it for the first time in terms of it hasn't changed.
Yeah, because the effects still hold up, don't they, to this day?
They do. They were revolutionary, and of course if you remember back then, as Cameron said in 2012, we were using what we had learned and knew at the time, which we thought were the actual things that had occurred. And since then, things haven't been quite as it was. But but to me, it still holds up. It still holds up.
Because you know how all these sinking theories, don't you, about the Titanic? I'm more a fan of the James Cameron 2012 one. No, it's still when it sort of basically capsizes towards the end.
Yeah, well, we all know Titanic didn't capsize. She listed about 9 or 8 degrees.
Yeah, but you know how in this room, the stern breaks up, it sort of goes on its side as it goes under, doesn't it? But as it's achieving 9 degrees, it's on its side, isn't it, towards the end?
Yeah, and it didn't list too much because, and at the time, she never captained the air. She was up there.
From what I've read, apparently she had a permanent port list, didn't she, slightly?
Yeah, she did, yeah.
And then when she first struck the iceberg, she had a starboard list, and as it started flooding, she got pulled over to the port side again, didn't she?
Yeah, that's right. Although we've seen how it all goes now, but in my variation, I've always kept saying, in my fanfic series, especially in the pre-sinking adaptation, she just sinks on an even keel straight down. Doesn't even tilt. Does not even list at all.
In my area, she does the James Cameron sinking style, like with the stern, like after it breaks off, as it's shooting up, it's going back on its side.
Yeah,
I just prefer that theory, honestly.
Yeah, that was the accepted theory in 1985 as well. When when the ship went up and the bow broke. The bow and stern separated, then it pulled its way back up and went down straightwards. I still believe that kind of played its own role, but I've always had multiple theories. But when it
fell through, that's why it went back level again.
Yeah, that leveled up. We'll never know the exact. If anybody had took. It would have been insane if anybody was ever to take a shot of it at night time in real life. But who knows what would have looked like? Because we'll never know how the breakup began. Because we've all had different theories. Others have had their own ways of how it trembled. I still hold up to Cameron's one, but then again, the whole thing of it happening in front of the third funnel was different. I still think it happened. Part of me wants to keep thinking it happened behind the third funnel.
Because they said in his thing he did for the centenary that it's based on the wreck, because the bow, isn't it? When it broke off, you've got little bits of the funnel free housing. That's just where the break is on the bow section.
Yeah.
So they based around that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I remember some of the early breakups ones when they did the whole,
the whole 45 degree breaking after the third funnel, smashing down to the water.
Yeah, and then you had what's the word again? They had the one back in the early days, back in the 90s before Cameron got his out. We remember the one from Answers from the Deep, where it showed, the very classic video game-ish of the sinking, which still holds up to this very day.
Yeah, that actually is from a video game. That's from... Oh, I can't remember the name of the video game. It's that one. Adventure Out of Time.
Yeah, the Adventure Out of Time. Yeah, but the one that they saw... Yeah, but the one they saw in, I think it was called Answers from the Abyss or wherever it was.
Yeah, I have that, and it actually is just a game for gameplay footage from that game.
Yeah, to be a game style, but if you remember back then, I thought that's how it all played out, because I remember those early days, like yesterday, it was like magic, back then. That was in 96.
What were your thoughts on that? Because in Answers from the Abyss, they believed this bow sort of corkscrew, didn't they?
Yeah, they thought it, I don't think they would,
but every experiment they did proved a leaf fall through, didn't it, instead? Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, but that was remember, this was revolutionary back then at that point, because there was so much hype building up. But like I said,
the stern was confirmed to corkscrew, though, because its back's broken, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, the two had separated by that. I still believe that when we saw in that one, we saw how the breakup went. The lights went out, and then eventually it kind of pulls back a bit. Bit similar to James Cameron because it dropped back down, and then eventually it slowly pulls out. But the thing was, the bow and stern were still connected by the keel, and then eventually, when the stern goes out, the two were still together, and about 500 feet after plunging down, the two eventually would separate, and then they went their separate ways. I kind of would like to think that's how it actually happened still. I still believe Titanic did break in two, but she was still holding on by the keel, and eventually the two were held on for so long, and eventually,
Yeah, because that's why if you look at the keel, isn't it? If
held on by the
it's all stretched, isn't it?
Yeah, and then eventually, the two will separate afterwards. So I kind of think maybe that may have happened. I do think that was the case.
Yeah.
Because that's why I still want to think still, and I do think the more I think about it, the better. Some people even want to go back to the so-called V shape, which was the shallow breakup, the one in 2005, where they said that could possibly as well be a factor, maybe.
And then you have the theory that this dude Conti is defending the hill on about it breaking and the bow rising back up. That V break theory. That is so fucking stupid.
No, but I do believe though. I do think the whole thing when they found Titanic's two double arms healing. I do think maybe the stern and bow were still connected still, but and the bow gave down, and then eventually. Hang on a second. Yeah, they found it in 2005 or 6, I think it was, and then they did the whole reanimation that it could have. I think maybe the breakup happened at a shallower angle, and then it caught people by surprise, and it could have made things very different. But who knows what may have happened at that point? I do believe maybe it did happen a bit early, and then something interfered in the breakup, and then eventually,
have you seen?
Because it all happened when the lights went out, and at that point, no one would have seen anything going on at that point. Because that's the tricky thing, remember? Because it happened as soon as the lights went out, seconds afterwards.
Yeah.
So we'll never know.
Although on one of the real time ones they did recently, apparently Stern had its emergency lights on as it broke.
Oh, it did, yeah. I mean the Titanic Honor and Glory guys. They're amazing at what they can do.
Have you seen their latest one though? After it breaks up, the area around the third funnel just sort of crumbles, doesn't it?
It does. I don't know why they keep changing it unless they're trying to correct any mistakes they made in the animation.
It's based upon a book. They based it on one of the more recent Titanic books.
Oh,
so
one of the eyewitnesses.
Yeah. Although, again, I'm still in favour of James Cameron because it shows the stern going down, and as it goes down, it implodes and it just shatters.
Definitely. As soon as the bow and stern went their separate ways, I think the stern, imploded, like we saw in Titanic at the final word. I do think that happened. I do believe that was the case in terms of.
It would have been imploded within the first 100 feet though.
And then accelerated, and the whole thing just got blown out. I do think that was a good. I still think we got that sorted out, and the bow, as we all know, died and stalled, and it went down.
Wait, what camp are you in? You know the whole three blade versus four blade tech propeller.
I don't know, actually. Good question. I wasn't asked about.
Because they now think that Titanic was fitted with a 3-bladed central propeller.
Oh, that kind of thing. Oh, no. I do. No, that's not true at all. The Titanic never had a third. Didn't have a center free propeller blade. No, she had 4.
It's because apparently they found what the Harlan Wolff log books about it, and then she has a central propeller 3-bladed now.
No, that's not true at all. She was a fully center propellered 4-bladed, and of course they blamed that Titanic had a much smaller rudder. Yes, she did. Although
it didn't help though that she was in full reverse at the time as well, did it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Apparently the good thing was though, despite the fact that Murdoch said hard to pull it afterwards, because he knew that when the berg hits, he was gonna You know, he didn't want those propeller blades at the back of the stern to get hit, because if that happened, God knows what. Just think about it. If that happened, just imagine how bad that would have made things a little bit more worse than they would have been. It would have smashed the blades off as well, if you think about it.
Yeah, because the only reason why they say that it might be a free blade because all the pictures you have of Titanic's propellers are all actually Olympics. But every picture of Titanic is always Olympic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is most of the case. Although we have seen some shots of her.
Including the ones where they claim it's the Titanic's main voyage, but it's clearly New York because you can see the patchwork on the Olympic side from when she had the hawk damage.
Indeed, yeah. I can see you've got your dialects up, by the way, Chris. I can understand that you're a big fan of that. I know.
Yeah, because they. Because you always get those things that it claims Titanic leaving New York. There's even South Africa, it's actually Olympic leaving New York because they scratched that name of the tugboats.
They did, yeah. We all know the filming is that, but if you just remember, West, back in the day, when we were all little, we all thought those were the images of Titanic. Even I, too, believed the exact same thing at the time, you know? Just remember that. Because even back in 1912, people at that point, when they watched the footages and everything, they couldn't tell the difference.
Have you seen the footage of Britannic's launch, though?
Oh, yeah, very classic. She's very different compared to
Oceanic, I mean. Because there's footage online of an Oceanic launch, and her propellers start spinning when she enters the water. She does, they do. She had her propellers fitted on the slipway instead. So as she's just going to the slipway, the propellers start free spinning.
Well, with White Star Line, they did it the best way. You don't put the propeller blades up until final fitting out. Don't do it when they're attached, because that could cause, you know. So that I always felt that White Star did it the traditional way, you know.
Yeah, here it is. In the private chat, YouTube link.
Yeah, I see it.
But you see it as it goes in, they start spinning.
Indeed. Oh yeah, that Titanic, the one that's showing in Belfast in the dry dock in January. Yeah, it does look like Titanic. Yeah, that's actually, I think that was one of the rare photos I think of her ever taken, from what I remembered.
Oh, I found somewhere a picture of Olympic and Britannic together, like in Belfast, like during Britannic's being out phase.
Oh, yeah, me too. I've seen a few. Oh, Callum's I've seen a couple of imageries of there's actually one or two photos, like, or make it three, where there's Olympic and Britannic in the same shot.
I can't really know if there's a picture of all three of them in shot, technically, because they would have started Olympic and Britannic construction while Titanic was on the slipway, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so Britannic, but at the time they didn't have the name ready yet. There's a shot of when Titanic's leaving, you know, and the water shine. You can just make out some parts of it has already begun. So I guess, you know, but at the time, you know, Britannic wasn't even recognizable or even given a name at that point still, despite she was named Gigantic, I guess. But
yeah, that's a myth. That's actually like an urban legend, though, because all the Hard and Wolf records always point to Britannic being the chosen name right from the beginning.
Oh, of course, but it was named Gigantic actually. But the name change, as we all know, rumored, was eventually changed to Britannic, which was a much better name given, you know, because the name Gigantic was like tempting fate, and that style had gone out once Titanic went to the bottom.
Yeah. Unless you're Olympic, though, in which case you just keep going for anything. Literally plan through submarines and like ships.
Well, Olympic's the only ocean liner that we all know, I think. He's still the only one who could actually turn and ran down a German submarine.
You know my Angelic?
Yes.
A little bit about her when she came on a crossing to New York to pick up troops.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to try to name the submarine, but I couldn't find a list of ones, like known ones sunk in Atlantic, so I just left it as unnamed for now.
That's all right then. Oh, looks like Callum's decided to pocket, and I can see 611. Nice. We've kind of, Wes, hate to me, we've gone quite off topic, but hey, at least we got something off our chest a little bit to keep me going.
Now, this usually happens. I try to call and it goes off way off topic instantly.
Yeah, well, we didn't go instantly. We kind of try to keep it short, but you know, as soon as you get into it, you know, I'm getting into it as well, and I'm enjoying it. It works, keeps me going. Oh, Callum, don't worry, mate. We're not getting in there, all right. Don't worry, dude. I don't know what he's referring to. I haven't even drunk any of that, anyways. Oh, train guy 611's in. Let's pop him in and see what, because we're gonna change. We gotta do a bit of a asking about how this year's been. So, West Rail, let's just start you as well. I've already asked Chris as well, but Chris for himself. But I thought, what's your take on how this year's been so far, and do you think there'll be a big difference within the next 6 months before we, skyrocket into 2022?
Honestly, no idea. This year just been average for me
Compared to last year?
Yeah,
I mean, have you took the vaccination quite well?
I only had my vax yet.
Oh, you haven't had it yet?
I haven't, they say on 25 you can get it now. I haven't actually had the thing from the NHS telling me I can book it now.
Well,
but my mum had her first jab, jab on May the 4th, and her next one's in July.
Mine's in July too, but I don't know what time or what day, and that's kind of a little, I wouldn't say antagonizing, but it kind of makes me wish they could actually give us a date of when it's going to come, rather than
when I booked it online for my mum, it told her what time and date it was.
Strange.
And then when she went there for her first one, they then wrote it down on that bit of card for the sit next time.
Well, on mine.
When I got mine, I got the letter. I got letters through the post. That's how I knew the date and time for mine. And then I just popped it on my phone so that I can remind myself.
Well, mine's only been shown on my card. It was June of this year, and that's that. That's all I got, and it's still there still, so I'll show it afterwards. The only good thing I will say is that, I hate to say it's a bit strange, but can you imagine if they ever did like vaccination tablets? Like what if we took one and just swallowed it and just drank it with our drinks, and that will keep us further protected. They could have done something that for a backup for some of us. It like for those who don't want to take the jab, they can just take it with the tablet or whatever. You know what I mean? That could have worked as well as a backup. I would have easily done that.
I mean, I take tablets all the time, and it's all right for me. I can cope with that. Having a needle, it is scary.
I mean, you can take them, but they still give you the effects anyway. But it's a good thing. I get that would have worked, or like that could counter for those who. That would have been a good counter for those who won't take the jab. I mean, but if you refuse deliberately, then you'd have to. I don't know. I mean, regardless, I would say if anybody refused, I mean, you should do it by force, give them whether they like it or not. You're gonna save as many lives as possible. You can't let someone just go off and then capture it and then lose another human life. That's just not how it's going to go in this place. As much as I hate it.
The thing is that it's not just one life it'll save. It'll prevent others from getting infected and then spreading it.
And that's what I mean. Prevent the spread, and yet others are doing it. I mean, I've seen people who try to do it and try to spread it on deliberately, and they end up getting facing the wrath of the law, and they end up getting taken down for it. It's just horrible. I mean, I've seen it happen before myself, which was deplorable. Oh, looks like Callum has uploaded 2 more of himself. What the heck? Okay, let's see if I can get Train Guy in. There he is. Hey, Train Guy 611, welcome aboard.
Pun included.
How's it going?
You have 2 train blokes now.
Oh no, run.
It's alright. 1 British and 1 American. Perfect. Okay. Yep, so everything's going good. Like I said, I mean, we're just talking about how 2021 has been so far, and Christopher and Wes have given their opinions. It's your turn, mate. What's your take on it so far for the last 6 months?
Well, I honestly don't know where to begin. But
yeah, don't have to rush it, mate.
Not as bad as it's not as bad as 2020. I mean, I was still in my last semester in high school when the pandemic started to hit, and then that got closed. And anyway, it's 2021, not 2020. Yeah, it's just been more or less the same, but wearing the masks and everything, it's just really uncomfortable. It makes some people hard to breathe. And well, I mean it is true, but
Just gonna
I
add to
mean
Callum which one is which.
2021, yeah, 2021
Hey up,
is
Hey
has
Callum,
been something.
how are you?
hanging in strong, bro. Hanging in strong. I've got some of my old friends in. I've got West Rail from DA. He's back. It's first time we've spoken as much, but yeah, we're talking about how this year's been. So I'm asking everybody else before I wrap this one up because I've got about extra 10 minutes left, and then I'll ask everybody else. And it's your turn, Callum. How's 2021 been for you so far for the last 6 months? Despite when comparison to last, going to be for the next 6 months before we leapfrog into the next year.
Well, in my personal opinion, it's like I didn't mind 2020.
None of us
So
did.
it's like this year. It's like it's all right, but at times it could be better. But other than that, well,
Okay, I think where a mashup will come in at some point. I think I would like to have Aaron in, but I have to make a choice.
who to shoot?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, Callum. But who to add in? They're both good.
No, you get the same though. It's like when you try
Yeah.
and decide who to be, you know.
Who can point the gun first? I get you, yeah. Or in better case in Star Wars, who's going to draw their lightsaber first? That's how I look
Or
at it.
who's going to be choked first.
Yeah. Or to put it in Steam Train, or put it in Steam Train first. Who's going to puff steam first with their train? Like who departs the platform first?
Or blow up.
Or who's going to blow their whistle? Who knows?
True.
Yeah, I think I might as well put Mashup first, and we'll see how he says, and I'll let him go. And I might get Aaron afterwards because I'll keep it short as possible. Oh, I see, Christopher. You can see I had the exact same issue, but mine was a totally different scenario. Mine was back in 2017, which was the last straw of my innocence before that went to hell. But I coped with it extremely well, and I tried to use it as a momentum to push me forward, and it only made me a bit of a pissed off person. But by the summer of 2018, that's when the big turnaround happened, and I don't know. I guess it was fate. I might as well tell about that from another stream for another time. But that's all I can tell you. Okay, I'll put Mashup in anyway. Here we go. That's right, Aaron. Yeah, that was the time you and I were together. Yeah. Hey, bro, Mashup. Said you got some things you wanted to talk about and share as well, and try and compare how this year's been compared to last year. So you got plenty of time, mate. You can spit it out.
I think I might have killed him.
Or did he forget?
Because he ain't saying oh.
Oh, he just unmuted himself. Nope, I don't think it's picking him up.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh dear.
Oh,
There we go. There he goes.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of lags, but hear you.
Okay. First of all, K-Fan, how are you, my friend?
Hanging in strong. I'm coping
I'm
good.
taking a shit.
Well, not legitimately, mate. Jesus, so we don't want to go that far. Or basically an ash pit. In steam ways wise, yeah, get rid of all the ash from your smoke box, or no, I mean from your firebox.
That's cool.
Or in this case, drop in the fire. Anyways, you were saying, Roger, Mashup.
Okay. 2021 for me has been pretty decent. Like, as you are aware, I got my vaccine back in March, which was a nice birthday present. Had some side effects, but hey, I'm still alive today. And I got some and I got multiple trips planned out. Next week, I'm going to see some family for the first time since last year. Hopefully, next month, I'm going to Stratford to hopefully see 611.
I
And
hope you do.
and August, I'm going to stay with one of my good friends for the week. We're going to see some trains. We're going to explore. It's going to be awesome.
So it looks like you got some high hopes for the next 6 months or so, depending on what's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
That's good to know. But compared to last year and everything else, how has it been since January this year to where we are now, and other things that might be a contributing factor?
Okay, I'm going to try to explain one piece at a time. The beginning of 2020 was okay. I went to before this whole thing started. I went to Virginia to see some family. Um, I went to Georgia to help out with my brother's college, and like weeks after this whole thing started, in order to stay safe, I took some major time off from work. It was a while for us, but um, let's just say I was somewhat mentally insane because I had to stay home for like 2.5 months before I am able to go back to work. Thankfully, I still have my job to this day, which is still a blessing for me. Um, Other than that, December 2020 was okay.
Well, I think it's safe to say, well, just let me cut you in. I think it's safe to say December 2020 was amazing because, to be honest, despite being one of the horriblest years, it was probably the best Christmas I've had overall in a long, long time because I've never seen so many people who got together. Everybody was singing Christmas songs. The Christmas shopping was brilliant. We were all helping out, and then on Christmas Eve, on that big day, the day before it happened, everybody was just in high spirits, and I've never seen anything like it, right? And then on the day it happened, on the 25th of December, everybody loved it. I've never seen my parents so happy, and we were all having a great time. It was like a retro Christmas, to be honest. It's like when we were kids growing up, and the family enjoys everything else, and it was just like having fun and just regardless what was going on, it's to be there for each other. It really
Exactly.
felt like that but it really felt like that so badly. It really did, and I was just so happy. And do you know what's kind of funny, guys? I've got a funny feeling that we might get a repeat of that this year if we continue it on. That's
Was
why
this,
I had so much high hopes for this year.
well, all I can say is cross our fingers, and there's always hope.
Well, Christmas 2020 was was just beautifully done. It just how it played out was just so grand. Maybe that was 2020's own way of trying to be very forgiveful, to give us something positive. And who knows, maybe that was the day we all forgave the year, regardless of what had happened. And I think that's exactly what I said in a premonition once, and I was spot on.
Hmm.
Anyways, guys. Like I said, just before I have to get Aaron and Ironing because he needs to be in for a few minutes or whatever, I just want to let you guys know do you guys still think personally 2021 has been a lot better compared to last year for you guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, as I said before, for me, it's somewhat the same.
What about you,
Not
Train Guy?
It's honestly hard to say. I feel like it's just the same, honestly.
Yeah, same here.
I don't think it's too bad compared to last year, but who knows what will happen within the next 6 months? The tides could change.
Good point.
He could, yeah. So, guys, I might have to get rid of one
Mhm.
each of one of you guys in because Aaron would like to have his.
No,
speak his
it's fine.
thoughts.
I'll drop out.
Is that all right? Okay.
See you guys.
See ya.
Aaron.
See ya.
Take care.
Let's get Aaron in. Okay, Aaron, I've got you in, as you said, and now it's a simple question and get it over and done with because
All right.
I've just about to go over my time limit here.
All
To be
right.
honest,
Go ahead, Glenn.
To be honest, Aaron, like I said, as we all know, last year was so bad with the whole, incident that's been going on with all the issues that got on. But personally, if you compare to this year to last year, and
On the scale of 1 to 10, on the scale of 1 to 10, compared to 2020, I mean, with 10 being the best and 1 being the worst, I would say it would be a 2. Well, 2020 was one of the worst years, in my opinion.
if not the worst, maybe in modern years, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But since January of 2021, things have really turned around.
Hmm.
A lot more vaccinations.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
A lot more vaccinations are sweeping through the United States.
Well, it's funny actually. Just to let you know, on a brief political note, today had a little bit of a special occasion because we managed to see the G7. We saw, we saw the Prime Minister, and of course we saw Joe Biden meet up with.
Don't mention his name on this stream.
Hey, it's all right, mate. It's okay, honestly. And everybody was all talking together, and that was pretty good. It was really good. There was a lot of positive results coming around. It's a little bit of a historic day today.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. All of our nations came together and spoke.
Despite the whole COVID crisis.
Yeah, it's about like how we're going to get out of this alive after this, and how we're going to progress after that. So we're all in this together. Like I said, as I've always
We are
said,
the world.
yes,
I'm
we
not
are.
going to sing.
Yes, we are the world. We are the planet that needs to. Well, we're changing, but we need to kind of reshape, just temporarily, get some of that oldness back and try and reshape it how it should have been.
Yeah, and I'm actually mighty surprised at how often you're doing these live streams.
All these things are the best thing that help me out, regardless of all the shit I have to put myself through, and regardless of the torture that I have to put within the chat box with all the a-holes who try and make me look like a bad man, which I am not. After that, because ever since I left the community in Thomas, well, I didn't actually leave completely. I mean, that had a big effect. If any of you guys were there, that took everybody by storm. I had close to nearly 30 watchers live.
You were actually quite close to pouring black water into your boiler.
Well, I wouldn't say I was in that close. I may have looked like I was, but in fact, I was leaving the toxic side of the community, and everybody kind of got the idea. Some volunteers were good.
Didn't you went to a hysterics railway? Sorry, Christopher, I couldn't quite hear what you were saying. You need to speak up.
I was going to say, when I first heard that you were leaving the toxic side of the community, I thought you were leaving the fandom altogether, and that sort of got me a bit concerned.
I know.
You explained it. So,
well, let's just say after everything that had gone down at the time, I just felt like I had to, because of all the BS stuff that was going on with,
It was time for an overhaul for you.
Well, I'm overhauled, but I was just like, the fact was it was time for me to do what I didn't think I was going to do. I was finally leaving the old fandom and going into what I like to call a preserved heritage Thomas fandom, where the older guys can go, and that's where we've been safe since, whereas the toxic one is continuing to eat itself up. And, yes.
I haven't heard a word from West, from Relfan.
Oh, sorry, I've been busy right now.
Well, they're listening in. They're all listening together. Hey, Jacob. Zach Does Gaming. No, it looks like Zach Does Gaming 2007's also popped in to see what's going on too. I mean, it's in for a long while.
Really?
Yeah, he sounds familiar. In any case, besides all that, that's the reason why. And it had an effect. And that's why there's been less drama and less hatred. because some people do know I've changed around big time.
And,
Despite
and
all
as
the-
and as I
despite-
recall, you, I was on this when you were talking about Ricardo and Mason. How are how are things? Have you heard from them lately since then?
All I can tell you is I am just keeping a sharp eye out in case Mason decides to stick his nose in and do something stupid. I'm keeping my sharp eye out for him, but I'm not too worried for him. As for Ricardo, I'm staying on neutral territory with him, and so far it looks like nothing is bad between the two of us. But let's just say I'm kind of, like I said, I'm staying neutral with him, with a lot of people, to be honest. So I'm in neutral waters with a lot of people, to be honest.
You're kind of in between the two. You don't want to go to one side and then switch back over to the other.
That's the thing. Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I did that too many times. Even Mr. Ginger Jesus himself, Mr. Brandon himself, has been in that position for too long, and I had to tell him, you can't do that anymore. You have to stay neutral, stay dead center. Do not go to anybody's side, because that would make you defected from one to another, and people will get the wrong impression. And he actually told me he has to stop being a one-up yes man, like many of my old boys have become. I know that sounds offensive, but
I don't find it offensive.
I mean, for some might do, yeah. But that's why a lot of people have been in the old community that I no longer recognize anymore, despite the fact I still love what they do. Like some of the old fandoms, I love what they do and talk about this and that. But it's just that there's so many people who still refuse or will not accept the fact that I'm a new person. I'm back to the Kane Fan 701 that everybody recognized from me like 5 to 6 to 7 years ago.
Well, I recognized you right off.
Yeah, but on a much more better tone than I was, at a much more mature level. When back in the day, I was still in my prime, but my maturity level didn't kick in.
And now you've gotten better, and I noticed.
It's just the thing is, I had a different mindset back in them days, and I don't do all the things that people.
You don't do all the Timothy stuff anymore.
Well, let's just say the Dark Days of Thomas ended after the controversial 311 film.
The controversial 311 stuff.
But the thing is, people are still praising me over about it, and and I hear about it all the time, and I'm just happy for it. That at least even modern films today, still guys who have seen it, they love it. Some of them, it's strange. There's been no disliking. I mean, some don't. Some might dislike it further than likes or that, but there's been no critic hating. There's been no,
going nuts or anything.
Yeah, there's been none of those slandering BS stuff that most Hollywood films get nowadays. Or, there's hardly been any of the bad backlashing that you would see, or, and it's not like it was like when I did the 311 film, where there was so much backlash going into the development and everybody didn't want to see it, but and it looks like 611 went up. But when I first started making the first bits coming into play, about it, those backlashing stopped and it was replaced by positive and praise, and that was fun. I know that was the most funniest and strangest ordeal at the beginning, and even now I still don't get the You
still don't get why they immediately changed. I think that they were just jealous of your talents and everything.
It's not just that, but they just don't understand me as a human being. For anybody who knows me outside the internet, then you know what I'm like. Because when I'm on here, I'm a completely different person, and I try and be the man.
You try to be this calm and cool, collected person.
I try and be the man who everyone likes me to be. But if I'm too nice or too open up to much, if I'm too polite and other things are positive, that's when people can exploit and take advantage. Because I just keep in mind, guys, when I used to be very open and polite and very,
And we lost another one.
Yeah, it's all right. But besides that, all the things that happened, Callum went out. Despite everything that happened, I used to get my ass kicked a lot. And in high school, Yeah, legitimately, all because I was a polite freak back then when people didn't expect
That's because you were a pushover back then.
Oh yeah, but the thing was, pushovering was considered a wrong thing, where nowadays it's considered nothing more than just nothing,
Oh,
but it should be a big
Adam
deal.
says StreamYard was acting up.
That's all right. It's just
Anyway,
the fact is, I mean, if people want to treat me like a pushover or whatever, then I won't be afraid of retaliating because
you,
that's how my bringing up was at the time.
you
Like,
were actually after the Titanic live stream. You pretty much. I think people are starting to see you in a different light. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, they basically saw me in the light that I was in years before, but refused to actually see it.
I see.
Whereas now they can actually see the light that I was in. Finally, it took them what
10,
since
10 or 20 years to
took
figure that out.
it took since despite the harsh stuff that happened to me way back in 2010 or 11 or whatever the hell it was. I think it was then. Yeah, I think it was 10 years. It took them over a decade to finally see the talented light I have in there. I'm not like, if anybody keeps calling me, a Titanic simp
Oh.
or whatever the case may be, yeah, that sickens me. Yeah, anybody who's heard that,
Yeah.
yeah, if anybody hears that's actually disrespecting the name of Titanic, and anybody who's a big fan, or if anybody's a Titanic buff, that's fine. I've been a Titanic buff all my life. There's nothing wrong with
When
big hats, like
when
everybody.
in my recent go ahead, Chris.
Well, recently on Instagram, a couple of posts, I've put a couple of comments and people have called me a simp.
Yeah, normal. There's anime sims. I can get that, which is kind of a slang term to use. That's where it originates from, I think. But don't call me like a wrestling simp, or don't call me an elephant simp or a Disney simp or whatever the heck. That's a no. That's disrespect. I mean, it's because you're disrespecting the name. I mean,
just like what happened with have you figured out why? I mean, Ricardo went off the rails. Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah. I actually have, but I've been under strict orders to not actually
keep
say
it quiet.
Yeah, I want to keep it quiet because there was already enough shenanigans going on at that time. I already know the true facts. Let's just say I was kind of mentioned, but whatever the case may be, but it turns out to be false.
Bless you.
I wasn't involved whatever, but it's just that I was said to be a so-called replacement, but that was not the case. And thankfully, that was proved. I had the evidence shown, and I wasn't.
You were never proved a replacement.
No, but the fact is, though, I do tend to think that since my departure from an old team, whose name I won't mention because of my strict orders, I've, it just hasn't been fun as much, and I can't find a team to hook up with, and share clothes.
You're always welcome to be on the line wings.
I get that, man. It's just the fact is, it's not like I used to work with the old team, like with Benny and Leo and Johnny and the other team members.
I haven't heard much from them either.
Although Leo does rarely get in contact with me at times, but the fact of the matter is, rarely, but he has replied in one of my comments a few weeks back, which was nice to hear. But the fact is that I miss the entire team completely. I miss them dearly. To be honest, I get quite emotional when I think of Benny because, lovely chap himself. I miss Ray, big time.
Well, you still got me.
You're the only one that's left. You're the only survivor of it, and you have, Leo is okay. I don't know what happened to Johnny. It's like he vanished.
Me neither.
I don't know what the hell happened to him.
Should we start wrapping this up?
We're almost done. Yeah, just going to 5 more minutes.
Well, looks like I'll have. Well, buddy, when I did my recent journal post, I mentioned your Titanic's live stream in it. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
that was a good way to recommend you.
It was, yeah. That was good. Yeah, I will admit that was one of the best Titanic streams ever, and there was no issues going on. I'm just glad. I'm just glad some people finally took notice, and I was glad that it all ended nicely. You know, I was thinking that's how it should have been.
I see. Well,
We might do
Well,
more. I have more
yeah.
streams in the future to show more of like the fanfic streaming. Like in the first one as well, I'll try and keep it as good as possible and explain. If any of you guys could actually ask me any Q&A questions about when you see the story. For those of you who have read that story, you're more than welcome to ask me anything about it. If you're unsure or whatever, you're more than welcome to tell me live or keep it in the
And-
chat or whatnot. That means all of you guys, like, you know, you, Chris, and I mean, West, you've seen it many, many times, but if you ever wanted to ask me anything, like, you could go ahead if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? If we, like, when we do another stream for it another time.
The one thing I noticed was that we haven't seen your friend, Robert, pop up yet. As I recall, he was in like what the last few streams you were doing.
Oh yeah. Let's just say he won't be able to make it in all of them.
But I'm always available.
He wasn't aware. I don't think he was aware at the time.
I think that was I think this was kind of like a surprise stream.
It was, yeah. This was one I had planned to do today anyway. I just should have done it a bit earlier, but I've left it a bit late. Anyway, yeah, I needed to anyway because I'll be hitting the bricks after this. Anyways, guys, do you want to get your final comments on what could happen perhaps in the near future when we? Oh yeah, 6 spots in.
Oh.
So guys, Aaron, I'll let you go first before I let you go. I want you to give me your final.
I'd rather stick around until the. Well, I'd rather go last. Why don't we start with Christopher?
Oh, well, we all going round and we go forward or backwards, but just remember on the way he decides who goes first. But yeah, maybe Chris could go first if he wants to.
Because he was here first.
I can't hear you, Chris. You need to turn your volume up.
I'm just hoping that for the future things do start to get a bit better and we finally get out of this thing, because it's been a hellish few years, but we've stuck through it and we will get through it at the end of the day. You know?
Yeah.
I think we'll get through it somewhere. But I do think other things that we don't I wouldn't want to speak about. Hopefully that will stop too eventually, because we both need to coexist and push forward. Because I've always argued with this whole thing with other things, like you said, you know, as Aaron said, we are the world, our nation's world, we all matter together. Like I said, I've always said this, you know, all lives are mattering in this pandemic. It's not just one of us, it's all of us, because we're being globally affected. Right. It doesn't matter whose side we're on, it doesn't matter.
Glenn,
you know,
got a quick question for you. A quick question for you, Glenn.
And that would be?
I mean, when you got vaccinated, did you get your vaccine shot yet?
I took my first one, like I said, but my second one is yet to come until next month.
Oh, okay. Well, it's usually usually it's 2 or 3 weeks before the next one. Which side of which arm were you resting on?
As always, I'm a left one taker, you know.
I decided. All right. Well, what about you, Restwell? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, but he's like, which arm did you have yours in?
Oh, I haven't had my jab yet. I'm still waiting to get the thing from NHS. It's about being able to book it.
Any final thoughts, Res?
Not much, really.
Anything in specific you can bring out, you know, to put your final thoughts overall about?
Nothing, really, honestly. I'm quite content with everything.
All right, Norfolk, your turn.
Try and go 6-11. It's your turn, mate. What's your final thoughts?
And I'll wrap this up.
Yeah, honestly, all I could just say is hope that 2021 will be better than 2020.
We've got final 6 months we've got the last 6 months to go until we get that.
Yeah.
All we can do is just hope.
And also, guys, like I said, what's the word again? what I will have to say is that it really has been quite cool having you guys in. Hey, West Rail, if you ever want to, you can always reread the reboot of the Titanic fanfic of this Thinking of a Night to Remember if you want to. You have to look very carefully to see the difference.
I haven't had a chance to read it yet because I didn't even know I didn't know you finished it. I thought you were still like.
I did. I managed to finish it. Yeah, I finished it, but I'm just making sure I haven't made any mistakes, or if I'm missing any imageries, or was there any mistakes I may have missed out on, or whatnot, or any spelling mistakes. So yeah, but now if you like to, now's the opportunity for you. You can start it if you like. All right. No pressure, mate. But after you do, you can come back and afterwards, because I actually am playing a stream on doing the Titanic fanfic review thing, and anybody who has read it can come up and join the stream party and explain their thoughts or what they thought about the whole, and you could be one of those guys afterwards if you'd like to, West. If anybody has, then you can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. When is that?
We don't have a date yet for it, but
which one is it? Because you have two versions of the same fic in the folder. So is it the ones in the top?
The one in the top, the one that's halfway in the top is the actual. Is the official rebooted one, because if you look careful, if you look very, very, very carefully in the folder apparently of it, you will actually notice the parts are very, very different. Because the old one, from what I can remember, had about. Hang on. Okay, there's the old one. Okay, so that's good. Let me just check back to the.
You probably need to send me that.
Yeah, because the old version had like a total of 14 chapters. Okay.
All right.
So the one you're seeing right now is the actual reboot one, which only has about 17, which is a bit long, I think, than the last one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And just keep in mind, it's also a hybrid. Like I said, it's a hybrid Titanic fanfic, because it's like the combination of James Cameron's film and Titanic 1953, the first Hollywood Titanic movie.
The black and white.
Yeah. And then you had A Night to Remember combined, which was also the last black and white Titanic movie ever shown, which is why I got the name, which was my title name in the tribute to the film, rather than just calling it Titanic, because it kind of felt overused.
Mm-hmm.
And then I combined a bit of Titanic 1996, which was actually the first Titanic movie I ever watched, which was a 2-part special film back in the day. And then you just have some other bits that might entangle, which is the building up for Race the Titanic in parts that you might want to look very closely, because that's also a bit of a build up for what will happen afterwards. And then all the events are happening at the same time, almost exactly as they were, except with some plot twists. And I may have even incorporated a bit of Titanic 1979 / SOS Titanic, which was the first coloured movie of Titanic, which is the one Queen Mary was playing in.
All right. Any final words, Glenn?
I don't have any. I'm just not just yet, but I was just letting you guys know about that if you ever wanted to. Any cases, that's what I'm just saying. If anybody wants to check that out, you can.
Well, you mind if I wrap this one up this time?
It's okay. I mean, I'm just about to. But if you ever want to take a look at my Titanic fanfic, since you are in there yourself, you're more than welcome to. And you can comment on each part if you like to. That's entirely up to you.
I think I'll wait till you do your. I think I'll wait till you do your stream in order for me to commentate.
That's no fun. Okay. So
okay.
Besides all that, guys, this is about to be the final wrap up now, and despite we're about 24 minutes overdue. But in any cases, thanks for popping in. Thanks, Christopher, for coming in. West Rail fan.
Let me wrap this one up, okay?
Hey, Aaron, I'm just nearly done. Hang on.
Go ahead.
Rest Rail, it was nice of you to be in as well. Very unexpectedly, but you're more than welcome to come back again. Train Guy 611, again, it was nice of you to pop in too when you did. So, again, just be aware to catch me next time, and I'll catch you up later at some point.
All right.
And same thing for you, Aaron.
Okay, well, okay. Well, guys, if you like this stream, please, and if you want to see more, please subscribe to Kane Fan 701 channel. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. And everyone, have a blessed day. And we're done.
And as they sometimes say, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but to hell with it anyway. If anybody wants to get notified, hit that notification bell 24/7. And I can't believe I just said that, even though I'm not a professional filmmaker anymore. God damn it! I always say,
to the devil.
yeah, but then again, I always like, yeah, but then again, I always keep saying the words hit the like and subscribe, which is one thing I'll say, but I never like I say hit that notification bell. But hey, I never do. But I just had to say it for anyway, just for the hell of it. I just had to get it off my chest.
Well, let's go. Well, and that's a wrap.
There it is. And we're done, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks for coming in. Just be prepared for another stream when you least expect it. Peace.
All right.